we should take it and learn through histories from the past. So for example, right now they have apparently seized fire in Gaza, but at the same time, we've seen so many times in history where they supposedly seized fire, right? And then they went on and attacking after everyone else has forgotten. So just because there's a ceasefire, we shouldn't take it as a victory. Yes, we should take it as a minor victory, right? Because I remember Nabi Isa alayhi salam reading a riwayah from Nabi Isa alayhi salam where he was traveling with his disciples. And one of his companions saw a very unattractive dog, we can say, right? So one of the companions looked at the dog like, oh, look how unattractive this dog is, right? So Nabi Isa looked at the dog is like, look at the whiteness of the teeth of the dog, right? So meaning what? We should see positives in everything and in every life event. Also, what we know is with Trudeau deciding to somehow step down, right? We see that it's very, very important for Muslims all around the world to be a part of every single thing. So if there is a shortage in something, for example, if there's a shortage in doctors, then some of the Muslims of the communities should become doctors. If there's a shortage in teachers, then a bunch of the community or some of the community should become teachers, scholars, and so forth. Nowadays, living in the West, we don't have a lot of Muslims who are running for office. So what we should do, especially with the next generation, allowing them to know, like, look, we need some people in political science. So this way, at least they can get into these offices and try to make changes. Either if it's in education, in certain laws, in certain logistics, and certain things. But if we just sit there and just complain all day long and decide not to do anything, then, you know what? If I decide to do that, I am part of the problem. So instead of being part of the solution, I've become part of the problem. And we've noticed this in many communities. Many communities out there, Islamic communities out there, we also fall into this problem. That we become part of the problem, but refuse to become part of the solution. So for example, we'll have a community, they'll be like, you know what? This center is not offering this center is not offering this center is not offering this. And then you have the executives, right? And then here I'm speaking about the community in general, not a specific community. You'll have some of the executives saying, look, we're providing these, but no one is coming. So we're so busy focusing on the negatives instead of focusing on the positives. So the best thing is, we should focus on the solutions. So if I'm part of the executive team, and I'm saying, listen, we don't have a lot of youth coming to the masjid. We don't have a lot of attendants coming to the lectures. Let me try to find something or a certain topic that the crowd likes so that I can cover that topic in order to attract the crowd to come. Let me offer workshops. Let me offer certain things that they can help the community. For example, workshops in working in resumes, workshops in working in applications for the universities, workshops in helping the students in learning and helping them in what they want to major in universities. Also comparing myself, my community, to other communities and to see what makes them more successful. So for example, right now, with the community right now, we are in need of a school. Before, we were all complaining, oh, we don't have a school. We don't have an Islamic school. But now there's a solution to that. the Islamic school is coming. How many of us are actually involved, either directly or indirectly? If I cannot have the funds to support the school, then at least let me spread the word. And spread the word how? And if I don't want to spread the word, then you know what? The least that I can do is I should not put down the school. Saying, oh, you know what? Why am I going to send my kid to the Shia school? Yes, it's Shia, but it's grade 1 and 2 only. Okay? And the teachers, how do I know they're qualified or not? How do I know they're this? How do I know they're this? But they're a Muslim school. They shouldn't charge so much. But wait, we have to understand something. Here, what am I doing? I'm becoming part of the problem, not part of the solution. So the best way to do something is to become part of the solution and not part of the problem. And if I think I'm going to be part of the problem, the best thing that I can do for myself is to remain silent and not speak ill of anything or any contributions or stopping people from contributing to certain schools or certain things or certain foundations. Why? Because these are current things, current events that are happening in every single community that we go through. I remember I'm dealing with one community. I'm not going to say where this community is, but this community basically to the point that they stop their kids being a part of the other community that has to do with the youth. Meaning what? The executive members of the community of the mosque, because sometimes, some people don't come to different mosques or different communities. So what this community wants to do is they want to build somewhere, a safe place for the youth to attend. So now here, the parents of that mosque are stopping their youth or their teenagers from attending these events. And then they come and complain, our youths are lost. So I tell them, I recently had a meeting with them. So I told them, if that's the case, sometimes you have to be blunt with people in order for them to learn. Being nice and this akhlaq, yes, it's good. But sometimes in order for people to wake up, you need to be blunt with them. So I told them, forgive me, but I'm going to be very blunt. Your children and your youth wanted to be a part of this organization, but you stopped them. You stopped them from being with this organization. Why? Because you had your own hidden agenda with it. And now you're coming and you're complaining that you're losing your youth. So who is to blame here? The society or the executive members? So sometimes we have to look at ourselves. I have to look at myself deep down and say, am I part of the problem or am I part of the solution? And then what am I going to do after that? If I see myself as part of the problem, what am I going to do to change in order to be part of the solution? Now we have, for example, Doug Ford calling for an election. I have to ask myself, am I going to be part of the problem or part of the solution? If I want to be part of the solution, then I have to find ways. I have to study the law. I have to study the rules and the regulations of the country to find out how is it or how are we able to stop certain things from happening. For example, them teaching them inappropriate things in schools. Some parents are stepping up. Most parents are sitting down. These parents sitting down, with all due respect, these parents and these people sitting down, again, remember I said we have to be blunt in order to wake up. I'm going to be blunt. These people sitting down, these are part of the problem. They're not part of the solution. They're sitting down, they're saying, it does not affect me. wait until your children come to you and say, Baba, Mama, I'm part of the Rainbow Club. Right? I call them the Rainbow Club or the Alphabet Soup. Right? LGB, whatever. Right? I call them the Alphabet Soup or the Rainbow Club. They're like, Mama, Baba, I'm part of the Rainbow Club. Then I'm like, you know what? This is the community's problem. This is the community's fault. This is the sheikh's fault. But wait, what did I do? Do we know the resources that the teachers have in order to teach our kids? We should literally go study this. Go look it up. Go look at the resources and the libraries that the libraries have in public schools. Literally, physically go in there and look at the books that they have. These names of these books or the contents of these books are so harsh and so inappropriate that I cannot say it up here. And the things that they have in these books are so inappropriate that I cannot say it up here. I have respect of the khutbah. So at least we should see what our children are learning in school. We just think math, science, high grades are important. No. Have we ever decided to sit down with the Board of Education to find out what they're teaching our kids? You know, sometimes in Windsor, we sat down with the Board of Education. And most of the Board of Education, they have no idea what the children are learning in their school. This is the Board of Education. This is the executives. These Board of Education are responsible in hiring the teachers of the school. And they have no idea what's in their library. They have no idea in what content the teachers are using. So me as a parent, if I do not stand up for this, then I will fall for anything. If I do not stand up for a purpose, then I will fall for anything. And this is what's taking the youth further and further and further away from Islam. And then I become part of the problem, and I say that the muassasas and the mosques and the ulamas are a problem. But yet, I don't look at myself. What did I do in order to prevent this? So inshallah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guides us in preventing these stuff and standing up against the oppression. Because standing up against oppression is not just standing up for Gaza, standing up for Lebanon, standing up for places in Pakistan, the places that are being oppressed. No. It's standing up for the youth. Because if we look into history, even, for example, the indigenous people, how did they get them? They didn't go to the adults. They made schools for them. They taught them certain things to separate them from their families. Now you see the history happening again. And it repeats again. So, inshallah, we become part of the solution and not part of the problem. Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Wal asr. إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله العلي القدير. الحمد لله العلي العظيم. الحمد لله جبار السماوات والأرض. الحمد لله على ما أنعم وله الشكر على ما اللهم والثناء بما قدم. الحمد لله جبار السماوات والأرض. الحمد لله على ما أنعم وله الشكر على ما اللهم والثناء بما قدم. الحمد لله على كل نعم كائنات أو هي كائنة. ثم الصلاة والسلام على المظلل بالغمام محمد وأهله الكرام. اللهم صل على محمد المصطفى وعلي المرتضى وفاطمة الزهراء أم الحسن المجتبى والحسين الشهيد في كربلاء، وصل على أئمة المساهمة المسلمين علي بن الحسين زين العابدين، ومحمد بن باقر علم النبيين، وجعفر بن محمد الصادق، وموسى بن جعفر القاظم، وعلي بن موسى الرضا، ومحمد بن علي الجواد، وعلي بن محمد الهادي، والحسن بن علي الزكي العسكري، والحجة القائم المهدي عجل الله تعالى فرجه الشريف. اللهم صل على محمد. هؤلاء أئمتي وسادتي وقادتي، بما أتولى ومن أعدائهم أتبرى. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجهم يا كريم. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. Inshallah, today on the short lecture, the English part, I'd like to focus on the importance of youth engagement in the Islamic communities. Again, every community that we go in, and especially, I'm sure Sheikh Shafiq Khuda has been more places than myself, sometimes scholars will ask, where are the youth of the community? And especially when after the lecture, when the guest speaker comes, he goes down from the minbar, and sometimes there's little to no youth at the program. Now, Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad, is known to have said the following: the heart of a youth is like an uncultivated piece of land. It shall accept whatever is planted in it. Now, we've talked about how the school wants to teach different curriculums to our children. We spoke about how, for example, the indigenous, how they grabbed their children and separated them from their families. Like I said, history repeats itself. And I remember Winston Churchill, and I believe also one of the imams, said something in these quote, the summarization I'm about to say. Whoever does not learn from history is doomed. So, how many times have we seen in the Islamic history that people have either sat down or abandoned the prophets sallallahu alaihi wasallam? Allahumma salli ala Muhammad. During war, or disobeyed him during certain commands that he has said, to the point that certain individuals has said, no, the Quran is enough for us. Here, also in the Quran has told us, do not raise your voice over whom? Over your parents? No. Over the community members? No. Over the shuyukhs? No. Do not raise your voice over the Prophet of Allah. Now, does this mean my physical voice? Yes. Does this mean my internal voice? Yes. Does this mean through action? Yes. Now, through my physical voice, it's well known, I shouldn't raise my voice over the Prophet's voice. Meaning, I shouldn't shout or argue or debate with whatever the Prophet says. Now, how can I raise my voice? With my actions. For example, my parents tell me, my mom says, Naeem, go to the store right now. I need you to buy this. No, Mama, I don't want to do it. through my actions. I don't do it. I sit there, I watch TV, play on my video games. Here, I'm raising my voice over my mom. Because I say that I know better than you, mama. I don't need to go to the store. So when I disobey the prophets, or when someone disobeys the prophets or the imams, I'm saying I know better than the imam, or I know better than the prophets. So when it comes to raising children in the community, especially the youth in the community, it is very important that whatever it is that they learn, that I, as a parent, filter everything out that when they come back from school. So for example, my child comes home from school. Doesn't matter what school, public school, Islamic school, right? I send them to a public school. And they come back home. I'm like, okay, what did you learn today? Okay, I learned the alphabets. I learned this. I learned that. I'm like, okay, no problem. It's good that you're learning the alphabets. It's good that you're learning these things. It's good that you're learning these things in history. But also, what should I do? I should teach them the Islamic value, also with the Islamic history to go with it. And the true history behind it. Why? Because this will make me as a parent more aware of what's going on in my child's life. When I have this relationship with my child, I build that trust and that bond. Why? Because the teachers in the school, in order for them to teach your children, I'm telling you this because I was teaching. And I was teaching at a high school. And I was a counselor at a high school. So I'm telling you the techniques that the teachers use in order to gain your child's trust. So the first thing that they do is they sit down with the child and they do their homework. Without the child noticing, the teacher or the counselor will ask, draw me a picture. And what would the child do? If I'm known to yell or to abuse my child, that child will draw something indicating to that. So for example, the child will draw him and his mother inside the house happy. Me outside with the fire on my head burning. Now the counselor will be like, so tell me about your picture of what you drew. Like, oh, this is me and my mom playing. And then they will know the person outside is the father. But how would they ask? Like, oh, I like the hair on this person. Who is this person? The hair, not fire. They'll say hair. They'll be like, oh, this is my father when he's angry. And then what would they say? Oh, does your father harm you when he's mad? While coloring, without the child knowing, they will say yes. Without the child knowing. This is when they're able to come into the houses and withdraw the child from the houses. Why? Simple, through arts, just drawing itself. But if I was to tell my child and teach my child certain things and raise them in certain ways that I don't even need to use my hand, we will see that picture will start changing. Because what do they want to do? They want to separate the youth from their parents. Why? So that they can teach them their ideologies. Also, Amir al-Mu'mineen has said, show compassion to the young in your family and show most respect to the old. So if I have compassion towards the young within the family, they will show compassion towards the old. So here we see it. I raise my child, or we raise our child, not by myself. I use the community to raise the child. The community should raise the child. This is what Islam teaches. If one person is struggling, then everyone is struggling. If one Muslim is struggling, then all of us are struggling. To the point that there's a hadith that says, we are not, a person is not a believer if what? If their neighbor goes to sleep hungry. It doesn't say if their Muslim neighbor. It doesn't say if their believing neighbor. No, it says if their neighbor goes to sleep hungry. So if we know of certain people within the community who are struggling with certain things, then we should try to help them, or at least give them resources in order for them to help. But not, oh, I know that this person, my neighbor, does this and this and this. What do? Automatically I call CAS. Automatically I called the cops. Instead of me trying to resolve it, or trying to help, or trying to lend a helping hand. Why? Because I should try to lend a helping hand. This was set an example for the youth. Why? Because if they see a parent do this, an adult do this, what will they do? They will try their best when they grow up, and they will go into these places or these professions that help people in the community. So if they see sick people, they'll be like, you know what? I've noticed there's a lot of sick people within the community. Let me become a doctor, a Muslim doctor. That way I can open up a practice and serve my Muslim community either for a discounted price or for free. Or if they know that they're in need of lawyers, let me become a lawyer so that I can help. Let me become a what? A lawyer, right? Who helps, brings in family into the country. Immigration lawyer, right? So here we see how the youth can impact the whole community just by how they are raised up. And the importance of raising them up properly, because remember, they are like an uncultivated land. It's like we have a farm that it's rich in soil. A farmer with the right mind, they'll let this go? No. They'll be like, no, let me plant this, let me plant this, let me plant this so that I can get the fruits of my labor. Now, the children are that soil, that uncultivated land. If we do not plant in it, you know what? Somebody else is going to plant. If I do not like lemons, okay? If I don't like lemons because they're so sour, and then I have a farm, and the farmer's like, you're not using your land, let me come use it, and then they plant lemons. I'm like, whoa, I don't like lemons. Why are you planting lemons in my land? I'm like, you're not using it. I bought it for you. This is what they're doing now. So if we are going to the teachers and say, why are you teaching my children this? You're not teaching them. You're not putting them in Islamic school. You're putting them under our care. How many hours a day are our kids in school? 6 hours a day. 5 days a week. Right? Most of their time they're spending with their teachers. They're building relation with your students to the point that they don't trust the parents anymore. Or, sometimes we heard this. Oh, Baba, Mama, you know what? You're so out of time. You're so out of touch. You don't know anything. Right? You're not tech savvy. You don't know this stuff. You don't know this. But here we see how that school is changing our children and our youth of tomorrow. So again, let us not be part of the problem. Let us be part of the solution. Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد اللهم اغفر للمؤمنين والمؤمنات الأحياء منهم والأموات فجعلهم بين وبينهم بالخيرات إنك مجيب الدعوات إنك غفور الله إنك قاصي الحاجات إنك على كل شيء قدير واستغفر الله لي ولكم اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر.